Hello, everyone. I am Rick Weaver, your host tonight. My co-host Blake Duckworth with us, and you're here for another broadcast of Northwest Georgia Cryptics. Uh, Blake, you want to open the show, bud?
I hope everyone's doing well as always. Like I say every time, if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Uh, Slowly starting to grow more and more. Let's help this channel grow if you don't mind. Leave us a comment, like, and hit the little bell notification. That'll be all, Ricky.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, like I say, another broadcast of Northwest Georgia Cryptics. Tonight we are joined by Mike Brandt from Oregon. Mike is in the heart of Bigfoot Central. Uh, he had an encounter a few years ago that he's going to share with us tonight. We hope you enjoy his encounter. Without further ado, I'm going to bring Mike back onto the show. Hello, Mike. We're live, bud. If you
Hello.
don't fear, go ahead and introduce yourself and explain your encounter to the folks.
Okay. Yeah. I'm Mike Brandt, and well, it all starts off in Umatilla National Forest back in 1979. Me and my brother, we was going up hunting, and we found a little campsite up by this little pond or a little spring. So we went ahead and I started to set up camp. Well, as I was setting up camp, I looked off to the side of me there, and I could see down at the end of the meadow some deer jumping back and forth. You know, so I figured, well, hell, I'll just go on ahead and see if I can't catch one now. So I went on ahead and I took off and went off and around the side of the meadow, worked my way up through the trees and everything real slow. I got to about where I thought the deer were at. I went and I did a belly crawl over to this big old large tree that had been laid down. Got to that tree, and that's when I rolled up onto the log. So then I took aim on a deer, and that all of a sudden that deer turned, just right before I pulled the trigger. That deer turned and looked at me, and then the Sasquatch turned and looked at me, the female. And see, this is about 20 feet away from me, and she turned and looked at me, and she had these great big brown eyes, I tell you, and she was gray, and the sun was shining on her, so she had this little blue halo like tint to her, and our eyes met. I stared at her for a good 10 seconds at least, and then I rolled over on my back, and just I could hear her running, took off running. I could hear her crashing through the trees, and when I thought that she was out of my range or out of my sight, I got up and got out there, and I started walking back through that meadow back to the camp. And as I was walking back through the meadow, I had no fear or nothing. Just like I never took off running. I don't know why, but I just didn't fear her. And I took off walking through there, and off to my left, I noticed that she was standing there beside this great big old blown over tree by a root base. She was probably about, I'd say, 7 foot, probably about 600 pounds. She was a pretty good sized girl. When I seen her, she was sitting there feeding the deer some grass. I think that's how I got so close and snuck up on her, because she was preoccupied. And there was more than one deer there too, you know. And I took off and I walked through the meadow. I just was in disbelief that I seen her the second time. I was in disbelief I seen her the first time. And then I ended up in camp. And I told my brother. Told him what had happened, how that I seen her. He just started laughing at me. He didn't believe it. So I didn't have no proof or nothing. So I went on ahead and I set up camp. And later that evening, as I was sleeping in the tent. My brother was in a wheelchair, and he was sleeping in the truck, and I was in the tent. And all of a sudden that evening, I hear a little grunt, and so I looked out through that little mesh screen on the side of my tent. I was looking out there, and I could see a tall, skinny Bigfoot He was taller. He was about 8 foot. I seen him standing beside this tree out there by that spring, and then I heard some limbs breaking behind my tent. So I looked back behind my tent to that screen, and it was a larger one. He was good 10 foot, and he was trying to hide behind this big old pine tree, but it wasn't doing him no good because I could see both of his shoulders sticking out beside the tree. And that's when I decided, well, I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna go and sleep in the truck too. So I just got up and walked over to the truck and got in the truck. Told my brother that there was two of them out there. He just laughed again, you know. And so, anyways, the following morning, I went out to the water hole, and out there by the water hole, I found a footprint and a knee print where the Bigfoot had knelt down to get a drink of water, which I think that's the only reason they were there. Actually, was to get a drink. I don't know. They didn't bother me. They didn't throw no stones. They didn't throw nothing at me. They didn't yell at me. I didn't hear no howls, no nothing like that. And I went on ahead and went back to my brother. And I grabbed him in his wheelchair and I shoved his butt out there and showed him the footprint and the knee print. I said, "See, check it out," And that's when he believed my story. I went on ahead and I took off hunting that morning on a morning hunt, and I was walking along another meadow out there. I ran into this bunch of intertwined branches and stuff. I didn't know why I couldn't walk through it, so I went on ahead and I was going to walk around it. And as I was walking around, it was probably about a 15-foot walk. And then I come around the corner there and I see this great big opening. It's about 7 foot tall, about 9 foot wide opening. And it had the nettles laying down on the ground. But there was nobody home, thank God. But that's when I turned around and I walked back to camp and I decided to grab my brother and tore down the camp. And I said, we're going to go camp someplace else. So I'm not going to deal with these guys. And that's about how I get down.
Mike, up until this encounter, had you ever believed in Sasquatch or?
Oh yeah, I believe that there was something out there, but I never thought in my lifetime I would see one.
Well, that's the way most people that had encounters these things actually describe it as being something that was unexpected. And
Oh yeah.
I had my first encounter back in 1981, and I saw this creature from about 40 yards while we were float fishing a creek, and it was, it was mind-boggling to me that these things actually exist. I'm an old poor boy here from North Georgia, and I had back at that time I had actually saw the Patterson Gimlin film from back in 1967 as a young child, and I kind of had the realization that these things actually existed, but I always thought it was out on the West Coast in your area, out in Washington State, in California. But I'd never, dreamed that I would encounter something like that here in the state of Georgia. And over the last 40 years, I've had quite a few encounters with these creatures. Blake himself, he's had visual encounters, and as I tell everybody, I'm not a believer, I'm a knower. I know that these things exist.
That's right. I know for sure that they exist.
Now, I got a question. How big were the prints? Like, if you could estimate the knee size and everything, I mean, width.
I would say that the footprint itself was like 19 inches, and it was kind of narrow. It was kind of a skinnier. So I figured it was a tall one that had knelt down, and from where the knee hit and the footprint was probably about 2 foot, maybe no, probably that'd be more than that. About 2.5 to 3 foot distance. I could see the hair in the mud. You know, it had the footprint and the knee print and the hair up on the leg in there. I wish I had a camera. I wish I would have had a
What?
camera at home.
So what color was the hair? Or I know you
So
said. Go ahead.
she was gray. Yeah, she was gray. Right. The other two, I didn't know because it was just getting dark when they showed up.
So was she fully gray, or did she have? I mean, did she just look old, or did it look
No,
like
no,
that was her?
no. She didn't look old. She looked pretty young, actually. You know, in my eyes, what I would think to be young. You know,
Yeah.
and because her body structure was pretty big. You know, her legs were pretty big, and her arms were pretty good size. Her hands were, you know, no, pretty good size too. But you know, she had hair all the way down her hands. You know, she had the fur down her hands. She had the fur in her face. You know, just like I don't know, like any human would.
So
You know,
she did look more. She did look more like a human, facial
yeah,
feature wise.
yes, she did. That's one
No.
reason I had two chances I could have took a shot. I had a broadside shot and face on shot, and I couldn't do it. There's just no way I could take that shot
Yeah, we
because
hear
I didn't
those.
know.
Oh yeah, very very much so. That's like me, you know, with the one that I saw face to face. There's no way uh, that I could have actually pulled the trigger on him. There's
Well,
no way.
Right.
you know, a lot of the reports of people, or a lot of hunters seeing them, and they're actually, scope up looking. Every hunter I've ever, heard or talked to, when that creature was in the crosshairs of that scope, for some reason they just could not kill the creature or not shoot the creature. I mean, it probably wouldn't kill it anyways unless you shoot it hard or
Right.
lungs or head, something like that. But I mean, depending on caliber. But there's just something about them when when you're seeing them, you necessarily you feel like it's a human. I guess
Yeah.
is the best way to
Yeah.
describe it. I mean, some form of human.
Right. That's exactly how I felt.
Well,
I think that's the biggest thing. That's one reason why I never feared her because cause I don't know. I didn't
It
feel
didn't
no
feel
fear
like a
or no
wild
dread.
creature.
No, I didn't see her as a wild creature.
so and this creature showed no aggression at all toward you.
No, none, not a bit. She stood there and watched me walk all the way through that meadow, just standing there watching me, just observing me. Which
Wow.
yeah, I know. I thought that was strange. So,
Blake, I'll be right back. I got somebody at the door.
Okay. You'll have to mind, Ricky. Something's always going on. It never fails.
yeah.
So you said how long did you actually get a visual on her?
Well, our eyes met. I seen her when our eyes met. It was like about 10 seconds, but I seen her whole her body structure and everything. Before our eyes met, because I could see the deer. The deer was standing right there. When the deer turned and looked at me, I noticed that her hand was there. She was sitting on the stump with her arm on her leg with a handful of grass feeding this deer. Um,
Now
yeah,
you said y'all actually pretty much locked eyes, correct?
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
That's how I seen that she
Um,
had dark brown eyes.
dark brown eyes.
Oh yeah, and
Now,
her eyes when she opened up her eyes like surprised. She was really surprised to see me. Like I was surprised to see her. Her eyes just got big. Boom.
now, or as placement of the eyes, were
Mhm.
they, were they more of a distance between the nose than ours? I mean,
Yeah,
far as
yeah.
the structure of the eyes and nose.
Yeah, her eyes were wider apart than ours. That's why I see some of these skulls. I've seen a skull on one episode. I can't remember where it was. It was down South America somewhere. They had a skull, and I looked at that skull, and that skull, I swear to God, it fit her perfect.
Yeah. Now, one of the common things that you hear is conical shaped heads. Did she have a cone to her at
No,
all?
no,
No.
she didn't. No,
Oh yeah,
no. It was just looked like a normal head to me.
Yeah.
See, if I would have watched her take off running, then I could have give you some more, detail on her structure. But I rolled over on my back in disbelief. Because I just couldn't believe that I was seeing what I was seeing.
Yeah. And I'm assuming how you knew she was a female. You seen her
Yeah,
lady part. Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's pretty evident that she was female.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, same with me. I seen a family; they were no denying which one was female.
Right. Yeah, you can tell.
guys, this amazes me is the fact that these creatures you see them like this, and I don't know myself when I first saw mine, had my encounter. I kept trying to tell myself there was a bear that I saw. That there's no way I could have seen, what I actually saw. And it probably took me a couple of months to come to the realization that, yeah, I had actually seen a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot. And,
Yeah, it's still hard for me to say I've seen a Bigfoot, even though I know what I saw. Sometimes I don't really just come out and say, "Hey, I've seen a Bigfoot." I know I seen something I can't explain, but it was a Bigfoot. I mean, that's all it was. But still, I still hard to process even to this day, and that's been 11 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I still have that problem too, trying to process it. Trying to
Yeah.
believe that I actually seen.
Well, not necessarily believe, but
Well,
it's. I know what you're trying to say. It's not that it's not you're doubting what you saw. I mean, it's just, it's hard for your brain to process.
right.
I mean, you
Yeah.
still, I guess, do kind of have doubts sometimes, but it's not even doubts. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. I mean,
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard to just to come out and
now
talk
was
about
it?
it, but I
That's what I was
need
about.
to.
That's what I was about to ask. Is it hard for you to talk to people about it, or I mean, has it gotten easier over the years?
Well, it's getting easier now that I've been talking with people on the with podcasts and stuff like that. It's been a little easier to have somebody who actually believes their story,
Yeah.
yeah. That
I mean, that's the thing. The whole Bigfoot culture, the Bigfoot world. I mean, it's you're actually finding out people are coming out more and more about sightings and stuff. I mean, it's not so much taboo or anything anymore where people look at you crazy when you say, "Hey, I've seen a Bigfoot."
right,
People are actually starting to open up about their encounters and stuff more, thanks to the internet and thanks to TV shows and just the it being not exposed, but especially like in a place like Oregon, it's everywhere. I'm sure,
right.
I'm sure everywhere you go, you're seeing something about Bigfoot, or I know they use it a lot for tourism and stuff like that. So I mean,
Right.
it's just becoming, it's more on an everyday basis nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just nice to talk to somebody about it.
Yeah.
That understands the whole thing. Yeah. It's a relief. It's off my chest now and out of my head. Now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me if anybody believes me or not. I've seen it, and that's
Well,
just
that,
the way it went.
that's the bad part about the Bigfoot world or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So many people are so quick to judge people's encounters or to discredit them or whatever. That's the thing. Is
Yeah.
you cannot discredit any encounter. There's so many different types of encounters. Some things sound so far fetched, but people know what they saw. I mean, don't get me wrong; they are misidentifications. and stuff like that. But when you have a up close and personal encounter, you know what you saw.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Where I'm having a difficulty thing because I hear about Bigfoot deer eating deer and everything, and the one I seen was feeding the deer. And the deer were jumping around, like kids out there playing. Like they weren't afraid of them. And
She was
that's
just trying to fatten them up for a better meal.
well, maybe so, but it seemed like they would know.
Yeah.
That's where people don't believe me when I say that she was feeding
Well,
it.
It's proven they all have different personalities.
Yeah.
They're just like their actions. That they are some common ground there, as far as the way they do things and stuff like that. But who's to say that one she was cool with the deer? I mean,
Yeah,
that's her thing. So kind of like how we have pets and stuff like that.
right.
Who's to say that wasn't her little friends?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because they didn't have no fear for her. That's for sure. Because they stuck around out there for quite a while. Let me go away all the way up there.
Yeah.
It's about good 400 yards.
Because I'm sure that I'm definitely more than positive that that deer is a main food source from them. But who's to say she's not different?
Right. Right. Yeah. And the other two, I mean, for some reason, I got this in my head that he went and told them that I was cool or something. And they never bothered me. They never come over to the truck. They never did nothing. They just got a drink of water and left, as far as I know.
So you said that you seen a tall, skinny one.
Yeah, it was
I mean,
slender.
did it look malnourished? I mean, or because you don't really. I mean, I've heard of people saying more slender Bigfoot, but it's not very common. So I mean, what did you really notice about him?
Well, that's the main thing is that he was just he was a lot smaller than the other one. He was a lot smaller than the female, but he was taller.
Well, in your recollection, Mike, could it have actually been a younger juvenile that you encountered when you saw that one, or?
That I was thinking that's possible. There's a possible chance that they were just a little family. And those were the other two of the family, and I don't know if they were coming over to check me out or check us out, or if they were just coming to get a drink of water. But that's the way it went down. So I'm kind of glad.
What was your brother's thoughts once you had showed him the track and the knee impression?
Well, he just believed me. I got him to believe me. Not he believes in Bigfoot too now.
Well, since this time, have you had any other encounters with Sasquatch, or know of
No,
anyone in your area that has?
no, I haven't. I haven't even ran into anybody that talks about it. But then, like you say, people keep it under wraps, like I did. For a long time.
Right, that's something, that's the reason Blake and I do this, is give people a format where they can come on and talk about what they saw. And a lot of people, man, people don't realize, a lot of these encounters really mess with people's head.
Right.
I mean, it really does.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it just
know.
goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago. It's the process that your mind goes through after encounter. I mean,
Yeah.
you got so many different emotions about what happened. I mean, I could see where it could really mess with some people.
Yeah, right now I'm already getting pumped up about it.
That's what we're here for.
So basically, you have never done any type of research, or well, I shouldn't say research, but far as field investigating or anything like that.
No, I haven't. No, I don't get around very good anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah, my hunting's limited to the roads, road hunting.
Right. Hey brother,
So
I can tell you that.
how old were you when you actually had this
Oh
encounter?
my God. Well, I'm 61 now. I'm
So
62. So it was back in '79, and no, when was it? Oh yeah, it was '89, '97. Yeah, I got it all wrong. It was '97 when I ran into it. I got it backwards. But so I guess I was 38. I've been in the woods ever since I was 8 years old hunting, so I know exactly what bears
what's
and
that?
all that.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I've had a bear crawl underneath my feet before.
Well, now let
As I,
me ask you this. I know there's a state out there where you're at or where you're located uh, that's actually past a hunting season for these things. And I had I watched a segment this morning where the state is actually offering a $2.5 million reward for anybody that captures one of these things alive.
no,
Uh,
good luck.
yeah, that's what I say. Blake, what is that Oregon or is it another state
I
that's
think it was
offering it?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah,
Sure
Oklahoma.
is. Yeah.
right. Yeah, because
So
Oregon, they have a law stating that you can't kill Sasquatch.
Yeah,
Teddy
they have.
Roosevelt,
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt put it into law
right,
because
and
he,
this is
So and for
you know
something like that come up, that means there's something. I mean,
right,
why make a law against something that they don't know that's there?
right,
right,
well, right,
yeah,
and that's what gets me about all this is because the government, they will tell you, oh, these creatures don't exist. Okay,
right,
then they turn around and you've got Oregon that's got the law that you can't hunt them. Washington State has a law that you can't hunt them. Even here
right,
in Georgia, where we're from, you cannot kill a Sasquatch. So
right.
there's so many conflicting things here with the government.
And
Uh,
it's crazy that all those states are hotspots.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's like where we live. We live in the hot spot in the South. Like, I mean,
Right.
there's not many places around in the South that have more sightings per square, per mile than where we do.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah, I know. I've been reading a lot on the. I've got onto a bunch of Bigfoot sites. So I can get my story out there. And I read a lot of stories from Georgia. There's a lot
okay,
of people.
that bill actually it got put down. They didn't
got
pass it.
got shut down in legislation. Well, I
Oh,
know this morning I was watching a show this morning on here, and the two guys that were hosting the show said that they were actually offering a $2.5 million reward out there for anybody that can catch one of these creatures alive.
yeah.
And I'm
Uh,
going to tell
that's
you,
that's just nuts because if you do catch them, what are you going to do with it? You know?
What's it
I,
gonna prove? What's it gonna prove? What's it gonna prove?
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. It ain't going to prove
I
nothing.
mean, what's going to come of it? I mean, other than
Yeah,
science and knowledge that the creature exists, it's going to bring nothing but, people to hunting them even more.
you're
I
right.
mean, which I don't believe you can even hunt one anyways. I mean, better alone track one, but I mean, whatever. I mean,
No,
well,
no. 'Cause most
you
everything happens on accident.
you take
Most of the sightings.
you take a creature that's 8.5, 9 foot tall, that weighs better than 1,000 pounds. You know,
Mhm.
just imagine what it would actually take to bring one of these creatures down. I mean,
Right.
it's amazing. In order for a man to put one of these things on the ground, you'd have to hunt it with an elephant gun.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep. or a perfect shot would be about the only way. You know?
And boys, I am not going to put myself in that situation. I mean, Blake and I, we're field investigators, and we actually put ourselves out there every time we go out. But
Right.
For some reason,
But we've never had no negative encounters. So.
Yeah. That's funny when you're out there hunting for them.
Well, no, we've never had an encounter where we actually thought
we're gonna die. No,
that's exactly right. I mean, these creatures, as with your encounter, Mike, these creatures, when you go in the woods, they know you're there.
Oh yeah.
They know that you're in that area. I mean, you're in their home then.
Right.
And that's just like with me and Blake, when we go out on encounters, on investigations, we have, the Sasquatch actually has the upper hand. We're in his element. We're
right.
completely out of our element. We're in their element. And, to take someone, or for someone to go out there with a very explicit intent of killing one of these creatures or trying to capture one of these creatures, I can't see it.
No, I can't either. I mean, if he was to kill one anyways, there's more than one of them there. If you're to kill one, you're not going to be able to drag it out of the woods because the other ones, I'm sure, will be down there to defend it.
Well, and here's the thing: if you follow any type of conspiracies or if you whatever,
yeah,
we more likely have already found a body at some point in humanity, and us being here in the United States or where whichever country, somebody's found a body. Whether if it's been turned into the government, whatever. I mean, I'm sure the government has a body or's got at some point.
Well, I'm sure that the one in South America, I'm sure that there is a Bigfoot or a relative of Bigfoot. Anyways, because looking at that skull, it just brought back, my vision, just my visual. Yeah, I was just looking at that skull, and I was looking at the eye sockets on that skull, how big it was, and that's about how big her eyes were, and about the distance apart they were.
A good friend of ours, Barry from Fred and Squatching, has wrote, "I'd like to get the proof just to shove it down the non-believers' throats after all these years."
I wish I had the proof. All the proof I've got is my word, and that's
people hunting them is just going to lead to a lot of dead hunters, and that's true. That's true.
That is true.
I mean, man, you take these creatures; they're so human-like. If a bunch of people with guns gets out in the woods and starts trying to hunt these creatures, they're going to shoot at anything that moves.
Right.
If a branch breaks,
Yep.
90%.
Yeah, well, you're gonna be so damn scared,
Yeah, that's exactly right,
like
man.
Not hunting a deer.
Look, you're literally hunting a monster. I mean, like if you really want to be technical, I mean that's pretty much what you're hunting. I mean, it's a modern day monster.
Yeah. Yeah. And look at all the times that long they've been here, and they haven't, as far as I know myself, they haven't killed no human. I never heard of one anyway.
Well, you hear in these 411 encounters where people have come up missing from national parks throughout the country, and they have contributed some of these to unknown reasons for their disappearance or whatever,
right?
Not being able to find bodies, and who's to say that they've not met their end with an encounter with a Sasquatch.
Yeah, and I mean, the missing 411s, the thing about those, like, that could fall under a lot of different categories of mysterious disappearances. Right. I mean, that can fall under anything to do with UFOs, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they have. I'm sure somebody's come across the wrong Bigfoot out in the woods, was having a bad day, and got ate for lunch. I mean,
Well,
uh,
I can see it. Yeah, I can see it if they surprised them. You know, yeah, I can see. Just tonight they had a little thing on
Well, you
TV.
know,
Bigfoot tearing a tree apart, and there was a good clear picture of one too.
well, now Mike, Blake, and I have talked to people over the last year or so that have told of hair raising encounters with these creatures. But when you get to talking to them and it comes down to it, you know, they have actually done something to piss these animals off.
Right.
And you have to agree with me on this. A Sasquatch, we know relatively very little about
Right.
what makes one tick, and we really don't know what actually pushes their buttons. I mean,
well, I think
like
a
I
lot of
said
people.
earlier,
I think a lot of people that have terrifying encounters, look, a lot of that's fear. You know, like the
yeah,
situation at the time may be terrifying, or it may be seem threatening, but a lot of time it's intimidation, and you're
Yeah.
alive to tell the story. I
Right.
mean, that's the end thing is like no matter how frightening it was or what happened, they didn't kill you.
Right. Yeah, I never, like I said, I never feared them at all. I never felt no fear. Because I didn't have no aggression. I didn't, do nothing to them. They didn't do nothing to me. And everything was kosher as far as I know.
that's right. As long as you're having encounters like that with them, that's great. Uh,
Yeah.
but I do believe that these creatures, they are huge creatures. And they could snap you in half, if they wanted to.
Oh
But
yeah.
it goes back to the fact that most people that have terrifying encounters with these creatures, it's something that they've done that's actually caused it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, now, Mike, take it for instance. Now, what do you think would have actually happened, buddy, if you had raised your gun and you took a pop shot at one of these creatures when you saw them? What do
No, I
you,
know.
what do you think would have happened?
I know damn well they would have come after me. That's why I think when I took aim on that deer, I didn't shoot the deer. If I would have shot that deer, that she would have thought that I was shooting at her. I'm sure she would have come at me to defend herself. You know, that's how I feel anyway.
That's like I tell
Since,
everyone. That's like I tell everyone in the shows. If you have an encounter with one of these creatures while you're out in the woods, if you'll back out, if you'll kind of bow your head and back out, leave them to the territory, and it's going to be okay.
yep, I believe it. I believe that.
But I believe this is like with a grizzly bear or any other type of encounter you have in the woods. If you do something to show aggression towards them, then they're going to show it back.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. Like I said, I had that bear crawl out from underneath me, and it just walked off, and I just walked backward. I had a shotgun in my hand, so
Barry, you're exactly right, buddy. Going back to how hard it is to handle seeing them, we're told all our lives that monsters aren't real, and then you run across them.
yeah, that's a
It's
fact.
true words spoken, Barry.
And that's one reason that for a lot of people's sake, we don't need 100% proof. Because if we
No,
have 100% proof that we have monsters running around in our woods, that will kill outdoor activities.
oh
Oh yeah,
yeah, most
I
definitely.
mean,
I bet you it's already started. Cutting down
right.
on it.
Billions and billions of dollars would be lost in the hunting, fishing industry, whatever. Uh,
Right.
any, any outdoor activities where it involved you going into the woods, they would be millions and millions of dollars lost in revenue because know if the common man knows that a 10-foot creature is lurking in an area that he's going to go to that is big enough to kill him, then reasonable citizens are going to say that they're not going to go.
Right. Right.
That's what that I believe is the reason the government tries to keep these things, the existence of these things hidden.
Right. Yeah, I believe that. I believe you. Yeah, because yeah, it put fear into the hunters as they're
Well,
out
there are a
there.
lot of people. There are a lot of people that's even scared to just get out in the woods, anyways.
Yeah.
And
Right.
do you think they're ever going to have a chance of going into the woods? No.
No.
Mean,
No. Especially when the people are coming up with all these stories, on the aggression from them. Like you said, that they must have done something to piss them off or something. But I don't know what it would take. But I don't know where I'm going with this.
Well, I think a lot of the encounters that people have, that maybe they go into the woods and they get in between a mother Sasquatch and a baby, and just like with any other creature of the
Uh,
wild, bears or whatever, wild hogs, anything like that's got little ones around. Uh, if you get in between them, they're going to attack.
yeah.
Line. They're going to do whatever they have to do to protect that young one. And I think that is
Right.
a lot.
that's most of every living creature's instincts.
Yeah.
There are not many things that breathe and have a heartbeat that aren't that way about their young.
Right.
Right.
It goes back to the human species. Or, you let somebody try to hurt a woman's child, what's she going to do? She's going to pounce
Right.
on all she got. And that
Yeah.
goes just like those creatures.
Right. I believe that.
Well, Barry, let me ask you this, bud. After your initial encounter, have you been back to that area hunting since
Oh
then?
yeah, yeah. I go up there all the time. Like I said, I don't have no fear for them. Because my encounter was so casual that I scared her more than she scared me. Is the way I look at it. She was more afraid of me than I was of her.
Right, and there's a
And
lot of blokes that I've talked to and interviewed over the last year or so that basically that's what they've told us. They actually felt that the creatures themselves were more afraid of them than they were of the creatures.
right, that's how I felt.
Well, and that would make sense because I would say about 90% of sightings. If you're just hiking or whatever, you're just going about your
Mhm.
business and you happen to stumble upon one. What do? They go the opposite direction.
Right, right. Yeah, and then what did everybody else do? They chase after them. That's probably a big mistake right there.
Well, guys, I'm in full belief that anytime we go into the woods in our area, in Oregon, whatever, I do
Mhm.
believe that anytime we go into the woods, these creatures know we're there and they're not far from us.
Right.
These creatures are so they are the masters at hide and seek. These creatures
Mhm.
and blend in with their surroundings to the point that we could be right on top of them and not see them.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like what it was with me. When I first pulled up onto the deer, because the deer was standing there beside of her, you know, and I didn't notice her at first until that doe turned her head and looked at me. That's when I seen her hand and her arm, and then I seen her face. I didn't see her at all when I pulled the gun up at first.
Well, Mike, if it came down to it, bud, let me ask you this: if it came down to you had to pull the trigger on one of these creatures,
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't pull no trigger. I'd do like some of these other people do. Put out treats and stuff for them. Some special like apples or whatnot, whatever they can't get a hold of. But I think that's why they come into the homesteads, is to get apples and stuff like that. I don't think they're coming in there to get their livestock.
No, and basically these creatures are like any other wild creature. If you've got deer that are hanging out around your house and you pour corn out there for them, what are those
Right,
deer going to do? They're going to come back to that corn every day.
right,
And Sasquatch are the same way. If
right,
you start putting food out for those creatures or for these creatures, they're going to start coming and they're going to expect that food. And
right.
what they
Yeah,
say, that if you do this for 2 or 3 months and then you stop all of a sudden and you quit feeding them, then
yeah.
you may get a violent reaction out of it.
I could see them throwing something at the house. Or coming up there looking in the windows, looking for their treat. I could see that happening.
Right, these creatures are very curious. They're a very curious creature.
And
They're going
that's
to come
another
in if they don't.
that's another thing I think too, is that she was just curious about me. When I went walking through that marsh, and she was just curious. That she just stood there. I mean, through the whole length of my walk, she was just standing there, not moving. She didn't move. She didn't take off running. Nothing. So that showed me that she lost her fear of me. She noticed that I guess maybe that I was smaller than her. I don't know, but yeah, she just was watching me, just curious.
I mean, it's unreal. I tell people that if they're going to bait these creatures, don't do it right at your home.
No,
If you can go back in the woods a half mile from your house and do it, that's fine. But whatever you do, don't start putting bait out right in your backyard.
no, no,
These,
no. That's
these creatures are they're gonna get used to it just like any wild creature, and they're gonna come looking for a meal.
yep,
And if they
right.
don't find nothing, then they're gonna slap your house. They're gonna throw rocks at your house. They're gonna come
Yep,
look at the window, whatever.
all right. I believe that one too.
All right, guys, we're on the hour mark here. Mike, I want to thank you very much, man, for coming on the show tonight, sharing your encounter stories with us. Uh,
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
if
Yeah,
you
yeah, no problem.
if you have
Like I
another
said, I'm just glad to get it out there. I
that's
want
it.
everybody to understand that there's a uh, soft side to them. I guess if they're
Well,
not all
the
that
more
violent.
that's the whole thing about this what we try to do. The more encounters you can get out there, the more people will take that. Hey, maybe I should tell my encounter. So it helps the
Right.
community. It helps people that aren't so open to telling their stories.
Yeah. Right.
I got one here. Barry says, "I know people that I hope never have an encounter because I don't think they can handle it mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or possibly physically."
Yeah.
That
I believe that there's some people that can't.
that's true. That's true. You know, every person is just like every Sasquatch. Your personalities are different. Everyone,
Right.
and a lot of people can handle stuff like this to the point like Blake and I do this show every week to get the encounters out there. Uh, but there's a lot of people that can't. I've talked to people that had encounters back in the 80s that were raging drunks for 30, 40 years because of this.
Yeah.
Because they saw it. And it's the fact that their minds can't handle, what they actually encountered. Uh,
Right.
and a lot of
Right.
it goes back to the fact that back then, when I had my encounter in '81, I bottled that stuff up for years. I didn't talk about it because I didn't have nobody to talk about it with. If you tried to say something to somebody about it, they made you, they acted like you were crazy. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
but thankful, thanks to the internet, thanks to programs like ours, all the other programs that's on the internet, we'll give people a release to where they can tell their stories.
All right. Yeah, that's what a lot of people need to do is get out there and release their story.
That's it.
It'll help. It'll help a lot to get it out.
Well, Mike, again, thank you, buddy, for being on the show
Yeah.
tonight. If you run across any other encounters or any evidence that you'd like to share with us, just hit me up on my messenger or anyone out there. If you've got a story that you want to share with us, come on there and share with our viewers. Just remember, all you got to do is hit me up at Northwest Georgia Cryptics at gmail.com or leave me a message on Messenger, and we'll be glad to have you on the show and let y'all tell y'all stories. Blake, you got anything before we close out, bud?
Nope. Just as always, thank everyone. If you don't mind, if you're not already subscribed, just hit the subscribe button. That's all.
Hi, guys. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for joining tonight. Barry, thanks, man, for your input tonight. Thanks to all the viewers, the ones that are watching us now, the ones that are watching in the future. And remember, as Blake says, hit that subscribe button. Tell YouTube that you like us. Thanks, everyone, and good night.
Yep. Goodbye, guys.